Hello friends, hope all of you are doing well. In today's session, we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is competence versus performance. And this particular topic is included in your MAG 4 aspects of language paper. And this session is going to be in particular very important for your examination perspective. So do watch the video till the end. And if you like the videos, do consider to drop a like button, and also do join our social community pages, that is our Facebook page and our Facebook group. So I prepared this particular session from your examination point of view, and I do want all of you to make notes out of it so that you are able to answer short notes out of it, because most of the times short notes is asked from this particular topic, that is competence versus performance. Now guys, अगर आप लोग स्क्रीन पे ध्यान दोगे आपको एक कैरिकेचर दिखाई दे रहा होगा. एंड बिफोर आई डू फॉर्मली स्टार्ट द सेशन, मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप सब लोग इस कैरिकेचर को ध्यान से देखो. Here we have our very favorite and our childhood hero, that is Tarzan, okay? And you can see that in his mind, he is like particularly conceiving certain ideas to how to introduce himself in front of Jane. We know that the love interest of Tarzan is Jane in comics. So यहाँ पे वो बोल रहा है, you can see the first slide of the caricature that where he is thinking that, okay, how do you do? My name is Tarzan and I believe you are known as Jane. Then he is trying to think, allow me to introduce myself. I am Tarzan, Lord of Jungle, and you? फिर तीसरे स्लाइड में he is thinking, you must be Jane, I am Tarzan, it's pleasure to meet you. And जब वो finally Jane को देख लेता है, जो कि एक टहनी पे खड़ी हुई है, there she is. All right? तो ये जो पहला 4 slides था, you can see that here Tarzan is trying to conceive the idea of how to introduce himself, and is doing it well because he has the particular idea of how to form words, okay, based on grammar and syntax. Now what happens in the last 2 slides is very funny if you see it. When he meets her, he introduces himself in such a way that is really hilarious. He says, me Tarzan, you Jane. Okay, so actually ये बहुत सारे लड़कों के साथ भी शायद होता होगा. And eventually he says he imagines them. Now from this caricature we can understand the difference between competence and performance very easily. That means the first 4 slides of this particular caricature is competence. Now competence is nothing but an idealized capacity. Okay. Now यहाँ पे जो Tarzan सोच रहा है how to introduce himself, that is particularly known as competence, and performance is actual utterance, as you can see in the screen. Okay, and you can see that there is a particular difference between both of them. In competence, you can see that Tarzan is doing well, but when it comes to performing and how to introduce himself, he is miserably failing in that department. So I have shown you this particular caricature so that you remember the difference between competence and performance in a hilarious manner. But I don't want anybody, or I'm not encouraging anyone to draw it in your exams. Okay, so this is not advised. So now without any further ado, let's start with our formal session. So let us first of all discuss the history of competence and performance. Now, whenever we talk about the history of linguistics, it is impossible to complete the conversation without mentioning the name Ferdinand de Saussure. He was a Swiss linguist whose ideas on structure in language laid the foundation of the 20th century linguistics. He used the terminology lang and parole. Now ये जो topics हैं lang and parole, इस पे मैंने वीडियो बना के रखा है. Do watch it because it is also very important for your examination perspective, and this has a resemblance with today's topic as well. तो आप जाके वो वीडियो भी जरूर देखना after completing this video. Now after this was done, Noam Chomsky, an American linguist, first introduced the concept of performance and competence as part of the foundations for his generative grammar. Again, generative grammar पे भी एक वीडियो अवेलेबल है इस चैनल पे, आप डेफिनेटली चेकआउट करना एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ लैंग्वेज MAG 4 का प्लेलिस्ट. यू विल गेट बोथ द टॉपिक्स लैंग एंड पैरोल एंड जनरेटिव ग्रामर इन दोस प्लेलिस्ट. Now Chomsky distinguished the underlying knowledge of language from the way language is actually used in practice. According to him, language performance may be affected by such things as attention, stamina, memory, etc. Therefore, a theory of language should be a theory of competence. Once a full theory of competence is developed, it can be integrated into a theory of performance, which will also consider other cognitive abilities. Now, हम लोग को ये बात समझना है दोस्तों कि जो competence का logic है, that is like I have told you that it is nothing but an idealized capacity of a mind. Now, this particular factor is obviously influenced by certain external factors such as attention, stamina and memory. So यही Chomsky का primary focus था to bring out these factors into light. Now let us discuss about the definitions of competence and performance that you are going to write in your exams. Competence is a person's underlying, that is subconscious linguistic ability to create and understand sentences, including sentences they have never heard before. It's a person's acquaintance with a set of grammatical rules and is different from the actual linguistic activities. Linguistic competence include components such as phonetics, phonology, semantics, syntax and morphology. Now, competence enables native speaker to recognize ambiguous sentences or accept even apparently meaningless sentences as syntactically correct and even make some sense. Even if you have never heard this before, you know which one is English and which one isn't. So this is the basic concept of competence, where you have to remember only one thing, that competence defines the idea that is conceived in our mind, okay, before we execute it, because when the execution happens, it is known as performance. Now let's see what is performance. Performance is the real world linguistic output. So as I have told you, when we actually perform, that means when we actually execute our idea, that becomes our performance. So may accurately reflect competence, but it also may include speech errors. So as I've given the previous example, जैसे मैंने स्टार्टिंग में बताया था थ्रू कैरिकेचर, जैसे कि टार्जन जब अपने आप को इंट्रोड्यूस करा था, तो वो जब दिमाग में सोच रहा था कि वो कैसे इंट्रोड्यूस कराएगा, देन ही वाज थिंकिंग ऑल ओके, बट व्हेन ही इंट्रोड्यूस्ड देयर वर लॉट ऑफ स्पीच एरर्स. So performance may be flawed because of memory limitations, distractions. Now in case of Tarzan, it might be distraction because वो जेन को देख के बहुत ज़्यादा nervous या distract हो गया था. Shift of attention and interest and errors, random or characteristic or other psychological factors. So there might be a lot of factors involved जब आपका competence और आपका जो performance है वो tally नहीं करता हो. जैसे कि टार्जन के केस में मैंने बताया था. Represent only a sample of possible utterances. Now the performance of a speaker may not be fault free, even though his competence is perfect. Example, learning and riding a bike. जैसे कि हम लोग जब कुछ सीखते हैं, जैसे कि सपोज बाइक चलाना सीखते हैं और उसको चलाने में बहुत ज़्यादा डिफरेंस आता है, ठीक है. किसी चीज़ को जानना और उसको एक्सिक्यूट करना, ये चलाना, इट्स वेरी डिफरेंट. सो इवन दो योर competence वाइज यू माइट बी वेरी competent, बट परफॉर्मेंस इट माइट बी डिफरेंट. ओके, इट माइट बी नॉट बी फॉल्ट फ्री. So let me try to explain you the concept of competence and performance with a very beautiful example which most of the educators use in their sessions. Let's say you are a native speaker of English and utter the following: we swimmed in the ocean this weekend. Now in this particular sentence there is an error. Of course there is an error. Now this error is due to competence or performance. What do you think? It isn't that you don't know that the past tense of swim is swam. You have just mistakenly applied the regular rule to an irregular verb. समझ रहे हो यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? Distinction between competence and performance illustrates the difference between accidentally saying swimmed and the fact that a child or a non-proficient speaker of English may not know that the past tense of swim is swam and say swimmed consistently. Your competence is fine. It is your performance that has let you down. So यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, जब आप ये सेंटेंस बोलते हो we swimmed in the ocean this weekend, there might be two possibilities. First possibility is that this error was due to हेस्ट. ओके, अब जल्दबाजी में आपने बोल दिया. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको नहीं पता, आपने बचपन में नहीं सीखा हो कि स्विम का पास्ट टेंस क्या है, स्वैम, बट आपने जल्दबाजी में बोल दिया. तो यहाँ पे आपका कंपिटेंस इज ऑल ओके. यू हैव लर्नड द प्रॉपर ग्रामर ऑफ ए सेंटेंस. इट्स योर परफॉर्मेंस दैट हैज लेट यू डाउन. और दूसरा सिचुएशन जो है कि आपको एग्जैक्टली पता ही नहीं है अबाउट द ग्रामेटिकल रूल्स एंड यू हैव परफॉर्म दिस मिस्टेक. अब ऐसा नहीं है कि चॉम्स्की का जो ये कॉन्सेप्ट था अबाउट कॉम्पिटेंस एंड performance that went without criticism. Okay, so linguistic theories based on the notion of competence have been criticized for being too idealistic. अभी आपको ये बात समझ में आएगा जब मैं ये बताऊंगा कि जब मैं कॉम्पिटेंस और परफॉर्मेंस को एक्सप्लेन कर रहा था, मैं कॉम्पिटेंस को बहुत ही ज़्यादा आइडल तरीके से दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहा था. तो दैट इज वाई इट हैज़ बीन क्रिटिसाइज्ड. Okay, however, Chomsky dismissed criticisms of delimiting the study of performance in favor of the study of underlying competence as unwarranted and completely misdirected. This led to the broadening of the original concept to communicate competence introduced by Himes in 1974. This is now generally defined as the socially appropriate use of language. So this is the video guys. I hope you had an insight regarding the difference between competence and performance. ऐसे तो ये टॉपिक बहुत ही ज़्यादा आसान है समझने के लिए, but in exams you have to answer it for around 10 marks if it comes for short notes. Then I suggest then you that you divide the answer into sections. That means in the first section आप लोग define करोगे competence and performance को, then followed by the history, how Noam Chomsky was the person who was responsible for competence and performance theories, and how it was very much similar to the concept of Chaucer's Langenparole. Alright, then you give some examples followed by further definition. Okay, because 10 marks का है तो आपको around 200 वर्ड से तो ज्यादा लिखना ही है. फाइन. सो इन केस इफ यू हैव एनी अदर डिफिकल्टी इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग एनी अदर टॉपिक, do feel free to comment in the comment section. I'll definitely try to address it in the next session, and I'll try to upload this particular session's PDF in the social community pages, that is the Facebook page and Facebook group. So do consider to join that as well. Till we meet next time, God bless you and thank you all.